course, the only case on the docket is State versus Walker. Will the state be ready to go with witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Dunn, anything to bring up?
I don't think so, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, let me ask the state, at some point, I guess the county coroner will testify.
Yes, Robert. We have 2 witnesses left. The first will be from the Highway Patrol, and then Dr. Cogswell will be the last witness the state presents this morning.
And folks, and let me say this while the jury is out. Before the doctor testifies, if anybody wants to leave, that's fine, as I understand it. And maybe not, but I can understand that. So I don't have any problem if people want to leave prior to that testimony. Anyone else, Mr. Bender, in the hallway that needs to come in? Okay. All right, if then there's nothing else to take up, we'll have the jury back in. All right, sir, if you'll come up and follow the directions of Officer Hedrick in the front of the courtroom, please. Sir, if you'll stand in front of that chair to take an oath or affirmation.
Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give in this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
May you see it, sir?
Sir, loud into the mic so the jury can hear you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
If you could speak loudly and introduce yourself, please.
I'm Trooper Wade Klepper, Tennessee Highway Patrol.
All right. How long have you been with the Highway Patrol?
31 and a half years.
All right. What are your particular duties with the Highway Patrol, sir?
I work with the Pupil Transportation Division, Special Programs.
Okay. Did you have an occasion, sir, back in November of 2016, travel to the Woodmore school bus crash?
I did.
All right. What was the purpose of you going there, sir?
To perform a post-crash inspection on the bus.
A post-crash inspection on the bus. Okay. What is, before we get into that procedure, what is the purpose of the post-crash inspection?
Just to find out if there's any safety defects that may have caused the crash.
Okay. All right. And so I assume the bus, where did you inspect the bus at, sir?
At Yates Record Service.
That's here in Hamilton County?
Yes.
Okay. Give us an idea on just generally how you go about the inspection, then we'll get into the details.
We did a walk-around inspection at the beginning.
Right.
Just to see if there's anything obvious that stuck out or anything on the outside of the bus. And we pulled the bus from the trailer that it was brought in on and started our inspection there.
Was there anything, obviously there was a lot of damage to the bus.
To the outside.
Anything in your walk around did you note as far as the safety concern?
Just that the frame had been bent and that was caused because of the crash.
Because of the crash? Okay. And this was, I think, was a 2008 Thomas school bus, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, what do you inspect first, or is there something you inspect first, or does it depend on the inspection?
I start on the outside of the bus, check the lights, mirrors, windows, things of that nature, tires and wheels.
Okay.
We weren't able to check the electrical system. We couldn't get it charged where they had cut the cables on the battery.
Okay. All right.
We could check those there.
What did you determine? I guess so. You couldn't tell about lights. Obviously, there's a lot of windows that were broken from the crash.
That's correct.
What did you determine about the tires and wheels?
They were all acceptable. None of the wheels were cracked. All the lugs were tight. The tires were adequate to tread depth.
Okay. All right. And so you move then, I guess, to the interior, or what else do you? Where do you go from there?
We did check and make sure that there were enough emergency exits.
Okay.
This required 3 windows, the rear door, and 2 roof hatches.
All right.
And that's including the entrance door.
And those were present.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're up to spec.
Up to spec. When you say up to spec, what does that mean?
The appropriate size, they were.
Okay.
They were all.
All right. I guess at some point, do you check the bus's braking system?
We did.
And what kind of braking system would this bus have?
It was an air brake.
Okay. And how do you go about checking that?
On that particular bus, we disconnected the main air line that comes from the compressor into the air system and connected a line to it, which charged the system, and there were no leaks. So we were able to use the foot valve just as a driver would, and we checked, make sure all the brakes were working, they were in proper adjustment. The pads, shoes were adequate, not too little or too big, you know, on that.
Okay, so the brakes on this bus were working, the system was working fine?
Yes.
Okay. What about, obviously the steering wheel of any vehicle is important. How do you test the steering system?
You check the steering lash by turning the wheel. You have to look at the tire at the same time. When the tire moves, if the steering wheel moves an excessive amount, it could be a worn gearbox.
Okay,
But
all right.
it was fine,
No issue with the steering?
not at all.
Okay. You mentioned, I guess, the frame was bent or compromised from the crash.
Yes.
Anything appear not related to the crash that would have contributed to that?
No, all the cross members were connected and in great shape. Only there was a bend in the frame where it had crashed,
Okay.
and there was no other problems with it.
What's a cross member?
It's a support member that goes in between the two frame rails.
Okay.
Stiffen
Okay. All right. What's the suspension system of a vehicle, sir?
the suspension, that's the springs.
Okay.
that are
And
on the bus.
those are important. Why?
Stabilizes the bus that goes down the road.
Okay.
Absorb shock.
Absorb shock. Okay. And I guess those were inspected as well.
They were
Any issues with any of that?
damaged to those at all.
Okay. All right. I guess when you performed these inspections in the past, you found, I guess not just this one, but other ones, you found violations in other inspections. Is that correct?
Yes,
But you found none in this particular.
none in this particular case.
Okay. All right. And I guess were members of the Chattanooga Police Department there with you?
No,
No? Okay. And I guess does this post-crash inspection falls kind of totally under the umbrella of the Highway Patrol? That's one of your main duties?
yes.
Okay. Your Honor, if I may approach.
You may.
Sir, I'll ask you, there's a document that's stapled, if you could review that.
Which part of it?
Just, are you familiar with that document,
Yes,
sir?
sir, I am.
And what is that?
This is just my post-crash inspection.
Okay, and you've reduced that to a report, essentially?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. That's a copy of it, not the original, but a copy.
Right.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark the post-crash inspection report as the next exhibit with this introduction to
No
evidence.
objections, let that be marked in as Exhibit 51.
One moment, Your Honor. You may answer.
Cross-examination.
I have no questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Trooper. Statement, call us next witness.
Dr. Cogswell?
Do you swear or affirm testimony you about giving this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
If you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Dr. Stephen Cogswell.
And what do you do, sir?
I'm the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner for Hamilton County.
All right. How long have you worked in, let me back up. What kind of education background do you have to hold that job?
Well, first you have to be a physician. So I got my MD from the Medical University of South Carolina way back in 1985. Then I did a 5-year residency program in anatomic and clinical pathology in Charleston, South Carolina. And following that, I did a 1-year fellowship in forensic pathology in Miami, Florida.
Okay. And I assume part of your job is what performance of autopsies. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
And first, what is an autopsy?
An autopsy is basically the examination of a dead person, both externally and internally, to see how they died and why they died.
All right. And how many of those have you performed and/or assisted in your career?
Somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000.
All right. Your Honor, I'd like to tender Dr. Cogswell as an expert in forensic pathology.
He may so testify as a forensic pathologist.
Sir, you performed the autopsies on the 6 children who were killed in the school bus crash. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And those autopsies occurred where?
At the Hamilton County Forensic Center on Inman-Cove Highway.
All right. And if we could go, sir, I believe you have your records with you today.
Yes, sir.
Ziana Harris.
A 10-year-old black female. As far as injuries go, generally speaking, we're looking at. Do you want me to go ahead?
Generally speaking, sure.
Generally speaking, we're looking at impact and crush type injuries, both of her torso and to a lesser degree of her face and head.
And those type of injuries consistent with vehicle collisions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Brown, I believe you performed an autopsy on Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir. In his case, we have partial ejection, such that he's partially out of the bus and then the bus rolls on him, such that his upper torso and head were actually crushed. In addition, there's some also impact injuries to his lower torso.
Miss Nash?
Again, partial ejection. In this case, there was some lesser degree of injury of her head, but her right forearm from just below the elbow was amputated by the pinning of her arm between the bus and the ground. Other than that, she had fairly similar impact injuries to the other children.
Okay. Miss Mateen?
In Miss Mateen's case, she had mostly compressive type injuries. She had some lacerations of her internal organs and a loosening of the junction between the skull and the spine itself, which is sort of what you see in a whiplash kind of injury. So we would count that as an impact deceleration kind of an injury.
Right. Miss Jones?
Miss Jones's case, she actually made it to the hospital. She died there. She had not only skull fractures, but also, again, these sort of crushing, compressive torso injuries with lacerations of her liver and spleen down in her abdomen, as well as lacerations of some of the large blood vessels up in the torso.
Mr. Wilson?
He actually lived for a little while, and although he had injuries of his liver and kidney that were repaired surgically, he also had a laceration on the inside of his heart that did not actually rupture through the wall of the heart. But primarily what he had was closed head injury from a decelerative kind of impact injury.
All right. So all these are consistent with a collision or a crash?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, are you required by the state to file autopsies?
Yes, sir.
As well as what is known as a report of a medical examiner?
Yes, sir.
All right. You want me to approach?
Yes.
Sir, I'll ask you, there's a series of documents stapled here. There's 6 of those. You can recognize those.
Folks, if anyone else needs to leave the courtroom, so you can do it at this time.
Yes, sir. Each of these are a copy of the autopsy report, the investigative report, as well as the toxicology, except for Mr. Wilson, who, because of his survival in the hospital, I drew specimens but did not send them off for toxicology.
Very well. Your Honor, I'd like to mark the copies of each autopsy report as the next 6.
6 of those, sir?
Yes.
That those be marked 51 through 56.
Judge, I think it's going to be 52. That was the first one.
Okay, I'm sorry, 52. Yes, 52 through 57 then.
Yes, sir. Doctor, just as an example, let me document camera, Judge. Judge, could we go to the document camera just for a moment? This is the report of this is Exhibit 57. It will be the report and then the attached autopsy of Miss Harris, correct?
Yes, sir.
Here at the bottom, when you note accident as far as manner of death, right here, what do you mean by that?
Well, as you can see, we have only a limited selection of options for manner of death. Cause of death is whatever the disease or injury was that caused death. And the MBFI is multiple blunt force injuries, and the MVC is motor vehicle collision. By convention, all forensic pathologists will count motor vehicle collisions as accidents in basically all the cases. As you can see with our limited options, what we're really doing is checking a box for vital statistics so that they can pigeonhole cases into what's appropriate for death statistics for the whole state. It doesn't have any legal bearing whatsoever. It's basically just so that vital records in Nashville can just go ahead and set cases for this number of motor vehicle collision fatalities during the year.
In each of these autopsies, the manner of death was an accident. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
All right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
I have no questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Counsel, thank you, Mr. Dees.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the state of Tennessee rests at this time.
Members of the jury, the state of Tennessee has rested its case at this point. It's probably appropriate to let you go back to the jury room with the officers based upon that determination.
All right. Have you seen it?
I have seen folks stuff. The jury has been excused. Anything else from the state at this point? And then from the defense, Ms. Dunn, anything?
Yes, First Your Honor, can we approach the bench?
You may.
Thank you. The evidence in a light most favorable to the prosecution. However, at this time, defense is moving for an acquittal on the grounds that the state has not met their burden of proof with respect to all 33 counts of the indictment. Particularly, Your Honor, causation is essentially an element in this case. There is no question that the deaths of the children and the injuries sustained were caused by the motor vehicle accident. However, what caused the motor vehicle accident is in substantial question. There has been testimony from the state's witness, Officer Warren, about speeds that he determined mathematically somehow were the speeds that Mr. Walker was operating bus 366 at the time of the collision. However, there is also evidence that the state has ignored a substantial other causative factor, and that being what's been known as the white bus. We have direct evidence from a state's witness that this bus existed, that it was mountain driving, as she called it, or cutting off a lane. We have testimony from the state's witnesses that they found this to be irrelevant, that they were unconcerned with investigating these facts. Your Honor, I believe that the evidence that we've heard thus far on that issue creates reasonable doubt as to whether bus 366 was operated recklessly.
Anything else the state will be heard in regard to the...
Just, Your Honor, I think the state's more than proven that we could go to the jury under the evidentiary standards that we operate under.
As indicated, in the light most favorable to the state at this point in time, but in regard to the vehicle homicide, the elements that the defendant killed the alleged victim by the operation of a motor vehicle, we certainly heard substantial proof in regard to that. The defendant acted recklessly. We not only heard the proof of investigator Joe Warren, but the testimony of Ann Jones-Pierre indicating that she was stopped at Midland Pike and Tyler Road. Both stopped, and that the defendant left very fast at that point, and only a short while later she came upon the accident scene. The witness, Michelle Brockman, certainly talked about a white truck, but she also indicated that the defendant was going excessively fast. So based upon all those testimonies in regard to all counts of the indictment, the killing was the approximate result of conduct creating a substantial risk of death or serious bodily injury. I think based upon all the proof that we've heard from all the witnesses and seeing the pictures of the road and seeing the speed limit of 30 with also cautionary signs about, quite frankly, going less than that there is substantial evidence and overwhelming evidence that the jury could find beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of vehicular homicide. Likewise, in regard to reckless aggravated assault, that the defendant recklessly caused bodily injury to a multitude of victims. Serious bodily injury, we've already seen by stipulation the very, very serious bodily injury that these children suffered in regard to assault, that the intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly caused bodily injury to the victim, or that they placed these victims in fear of imminent bodily injury. Certainly reckless endangerment based upon the facts that I have set out, and the fact that we've heard testimony then from not only the records, the cell phone records of Mr. Walker and the other young lady, Kashisha Dixon, that the cell phone was being used while being operated, while the bus was being operated. So I do think that in regard to all elements that the jury could find beyond reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty of all counts. So your motion for judgment of acquittal is over. All right, what else at this time?
Your Honor, if we could just have a few minutes.
We will. And let me do something at this point, and certainly this is required before the defense closes its proof, but I would like to present to you two documents concerning the Moman doctrine about whether Mr. Walker will or will not testify. I have two documents that, if you would go over these, and if the defendant has made an election at this point in time as to whether he will or won't testify, then I'll let you do that while the jury is out. But at least we need to do it before you close your proof. One indicating that he waives his right to testify and will not testify. One indicating that he has decided to testify. So let me give you those, Ms. Dunn. And certainly if a decision has or has not been made, you can discuss that with your client. If a decision has been made, it can be done before the jury comes back. So we'll be in recess about 15 minutes at this time.
Court in recess 15 minutes.
I'll be back at that now. All right, and Ms. Dunn, I'll let you bring Mr. Walker up to the podium while the jury is out. And we'll swear him in simply for the purposes of what you have here, okay? Now, let you ask him this. And we'll enter this document for identification purposes only as the next exhibit. Mr. Walker, would you raise your right hand and be sworn, sir?
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, Ms. Dunn, if you will go over then the election of Mr. Walker.
Yes, Your Honor. Please state your name for the record.
Johnthony Walker.
And Mr. Walker, you understand that you have certain constitutional rights as a defendant in this case, correct?
Yes.
You understand that you have an absolute right to remain silent?
Yes.
Correct? You understand that if you choose not to testify, that the jury will be instructed that they cannot hold it against you that you have elected to remain silent?
Yes.
You understand that in order to waive this right, you must do so affirmatively?
Yes.
You understand that neither the judge, nor the state, nor I can force you to testify, correct? And similarly, none of us can prevent you from testifying, right? Do you agree that you have counseled with me on the subject of whether or not you will testify?
Yes.
And have you made a decision as to whether you will testify?
Yes.
What is that decision?
I'm testifying.
He will testify.
Yes, Your Honor.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Dunn, you either have Mr. Walker or your next witness ready then, is that correct?
I do have my next witness ready.
All right, let's have the jury back.
May we see that?
Members of the jury, before we take a break, the state rested its case. The defense may put on proof now if so desired. Ms. Dunn, you have put proof of your own.
The defense calls Mark Williams.
All right, sir, if you'll come to the front of the room and follow the directions of the officer, okay? We'll have your front stand in front of that chair and take an oath or affirmation from the court bailiff, sir?
Do you swear or affirm testimony about giving this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You may be seated, sir.
Williams, if the mic's going to be in front of your face, speak loudly so the jury can hear you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Mark Williams,
And Mr. Williams, where are you employed?
Sonic Drive-Ins.
Okay. What do you do for Sonic Drive-Ins?
I am a district manager.
Okay. Now, we're here today about an accident that took place on November 21 of 2016 on Tally Road. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Is there a Sonic drive-through or drive-in restaurant that is adjacent to Tally Road?
The one on Brader Road, yes.
Okay. So can you please describe for the jury how that Sonic is oriented?
The front faces Brainerd, and the rear end of it would face Tally that goes up the hill.
Okay. Now, is the Sonic restaurant equipped with video surveillance cameras?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the person in charge of maintaining those surveillance cameras?
Yes. And if I need help, I have other people I can go to.
How many surveillance cameras are at, is it store 933?
That is correct.
Okay. How many surveillance cameras are there at store 933?
We have 9.
Okay. Do any of those cameras face Tally Road?
Yes, ma'am. The one in the drive-thru.
Okay. And so I previously asked you to pull video from
Yes.
November 21st. Is that right?
That is correct.
And did you do that for me?
I had my company do that for you.
Okay.
Because I don't know that part of it.
Okay. Did you provide me with that disc, however?
I did.
Okay. And Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you. Do you recognize these two photographs?
Yes.
And what do they appear to be?
That is from the camera that we would have in the canopy facing down the drive-through and also Tally Road.
Your Honor, I would like to mark these as the next 2 numbered
The
exhibits.
state has seen these exhibits. Those would be marked and entered in as exhibits 58 and 59.
59.
Marked and entered, please.
59 and 60.
59 and 60. That's enough, I'm sorry.
What was 58?
52 through 58 were the medical examiner's report.
That's right.
There was only 6, 53, 52, 53.
Yeah, that was another exhibit.
I'm going to show you first what's been marked as exhibit number 59. Okay, and if you look at the screen behind you, you'll see.
Can I turn?
Yes, you can, absolutely. Do you recognize this again as a still photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this taken from the video that you provided me at my request?
That is correct, yes.
And this is for November 21 of 2016, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I wanted to show you what's been marked as exhibit number 60. Same thing. That's Tally Road, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, and is this a still photograph taken from the video that you provided me?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Fine. Cross-examination by the state. Mr. Williams, thank you for being here, sir. You're excused. Yes, may call the next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Johnthony Walker to the stand.
Walker, if you come around, sir. Walker, once again, follow the directions. Austin Hedrick, you stand in front of the chair to be sworn and take an affirmation.
Do you swear or affirm testimony about giving this cause is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may be seated, sir.
Good morning. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I am Johnthony Walker,
Okay. How old are you?
25.
Where'd you grow up?
Grew up here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Were you living here in Chattanooga on November 21 of 2016?
Yes.
Who did you live with at that time?
At the time, I stayed with my son and his mother.
Were you working?
Yes.
Where did you work?
I was currently working at Amazon and Durham School Services.
Okay. So tell me about your job at Amazon. What did you do there?
As I was working at Amazon, I was in the store department.
Okay. And what shift did you work?
Graveyard, third shift.
So what does that mean for time-wise?
It's overnight. The shift was probably about 6:30 to 6. It was a new shift that had just introduced. Just as a 12-hour shift.
And on what days did you work?
Thursday to Saturday.
Okay. November 21, 2016 was a Monday?
Yes.
Did you work at Amazon the night before?
No.
What was your second job?
I was a school bus driver for Durham School Services.
And when were you hired by Durham School Services?
April 21st of 2016.
Okay. And so did you actually drive students in April of 2016?
Yes.
Okay. When the kids came back to school in the fall of 2016, were you still working for Durham?
Yes.
Did you have your own route?
At that time, yes.
Okay. And were you assigned to certain schools?
Yes.
How many schools were you assigned to pick up for?
I had 3 schools. I was assigned to Woodmore Elementary, Brainerd High School, and Lakeside Elementary.
And did you have a set route for each school?
Not necessarily.
Okay, tell me how that worked.
You were old. You get new students periodically throughout school years. Students would be taken off your route. Students would be added to the route. Since I was new, I had students that were no longer on the route, so my route changed periodically throughout the school year.
Okay. On November 21, 2016, were you supposed to be on Tally Road?
Yes.
Without giving the names of students, were there children you were dropping off on Tally Road?
Yes.
Did you do your morning bus route on November 21, 2016?
Yes.
Okay, so explain for the jury how that worked.
You come in at least, well, I came in at least an hour early most of the time. You come in, you do a morning check of your bus, like a maintenance check, your wheels, make sure no screws and bolts are loose, make sure your seats are right, electronic lights, make sure your lights are working, your air brakes. It's just like a whole routine of the bus. If there's any leaking oil or something of that nature, and then once you check a green light or not, then clock in and you go.
Okay, so what school would you go to first? Or what-
First school is Brainerd High School.
So you pick up the students in the morning and take them to Brainerd High School?
Yes.
Okay. And then after you finished at Brainerd?
I would then, there's a periodic wait in between the schools, and then I'll go and pick up Woodmore Elementary.
So what did you do after your morning route?
If I wasn't instructed to like have another driver, I would just go and go shoot.
Okay. Did you report back in the afternoon for the afternoon route?
Yes.
Okay. Around what time would you get back for your afternoon route?
Afternoon routes started at 1:50 something, so I would get there around like 12, 12:30, 12:45.
Okay. And so what was the first school you picked children up at?
First school was Brainerd High School.
Okay. Did you get all the students from Brainerd High School home?
Yes.
Okay. And then where did you go after Brainerd High School, after you dropped off the Brainerd High School
My
students?
next school would be Woodmore Elementary.
Okay. And so on November 21, 2016, do you know what time you got to Woodmore Elementary?
I'd say around 12:30, 12:45.
Okay.
I mean, 2:30, 2:45.
Okay. For Woodmore?
Yes.
Okay. What did you usually do once you got there?
Because the school didn't let out until 3, I would sit in the back parking lot, and most of the time, to kill time, I would probably play games on my phone.
Was there a process to get students on the bus, to your understanding?
To my understanding,
Okay. What was your understanding of how children went on the bus?
I'm not sure exactly, but they would call the students in, like from the classes at 3, and it would take a process where each grade would come into the gym. And as they said, all of the students in from the gym for that grade, the buses were ran off of colors. So my bus 366 was a red bus. And once all of the students of a certain or particular grade, they would grab the students that matched the first bus, which it was always me, the red bus, from the red bus, and then they would line them up to escort them out to the bus.
Okay, and so you were always the first bus in the lineup?
Majority of the time, yes.
Okay. Can you describe what would happen typically once the students got onto your bus?
So basically, because they changed the way the students loaded onto the bus, they pushed us to the back of the school where it was a dirt path. And since I was the first bus, there's 3 to 4 of the buses that's behind me. Once my bus is loaded, I have to turn around in the little circle, and I would have to wait for the other 2 buses to load up and move forward for me to even be able to leave the school.
Okay. On the afternoon of November 21st, do you recall speaking to anyone as you started to leave Woodmore Elementary?
Yes, at the stop sign, like right before you turn onto the light.
Okay. Was your bus stopped or moving?
It was stopped.
Okay. And did you call someone or did someone call you?
I received a phone call.
And from whom?
At the time, I didn't know, but based on everything now, it was Takeisha.
Okay. Do you recall the substance of your conversation with Ms. Nixon?
Pretty much just letting her know. At the time, I didn't know who it was, male or female, but at the time, just that I was driving and I didn't talk.
Okay. Now, when you answered the phone, did you actually have to pick up the cell phone?
No, I had a Bluetooth at the time.
Okay, can you explain for the jury what the Bluetooth was?
I have all the types of Bluetooth, but the Bluetooth I had was the LG kind that drapes around your neck with the retractable earbuds.
Okay. And so, how would you answer the phone if someone called you on your Bluetooth device?
There was just a button on the right side.
Okay. And so, to answer the phone, you just press the button?
Yes.
How long do you believe that this phone conversation with Ms. Nixon lasted?
I say anywhere from max of 7 to 10 seconds.
When the phone call concluded, did you hang up?
No, I was under the assumption that the other caller would hang up the phone.
Okay.
That's in both lines.
How would you have hung up the phone?
My personal.
Okay. Did you press that button? Okay. Were you talking on the phone in the moments before this accident happened?
No.
Were you utilizing your cellular phone in any way in the moments before this accident happened?
No.
Once you leave Woodmore Elementary, which way do you turn?
Turn left out from the gate onto Woodmore Lane.
Okay. Once you're on Woodmore Lane, where do you go?
You turn right onto Howard.
Okay. Where do you go from Howard?
From Howard, you turn left onto Tally.
Okay. And is that how you got onto Tally Road?
Yes.
Okay. As you drive down Tally Road, do you come to any stop signs?
There's a four-way or intersection, like midway through Tally.
Okay. Do you know the name of the street where that intersected?
Midpoint, mid-view, mid-something.
Midland?
Okay, yeah. I know that's what it is.
Okay. Did you stop at that intersection?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Walker, tell me what it's like to accelerate a loaded bus.
It's extremely slow. It's just, you have a slow acceleration.
Okay. You heard the testimony of Ms. Pierre yesterday. Did you accelerate with great haste from that intersection?
Even if I wanted to, on the bus, I don't know how much we have driven a 18-wheeler school bus, but even if I wanted to, I could press the pedal down, and you're not finna take off, you're not finna burn off, you're not finna jerk to an acceleration, you're gonna slowly pick up speed to go.
Okay. Now, as you proceeded down Tally Road, at some point, did you look at your odometer?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were on Tally Road when you looked at your odometer?
It would have been like Crest Point right before Tally and Rogers.
Okay. When you looked at your odometer, what did it say?
35.
Okay. And that was as you were coming to Tally and Rogers,
Yes.
is that right? How far is it from the intersection of Tally and Rogers to the area where this accident happened?
It's not far at all. It's basically down the street.
Okay. What is the roadway like as you come through Tally and Rogers?
As many witnesses before me have explained, this really hilly, it's really curvy, narrow streets.
Did you accelerate the entire time that you were driving?
No.
Was there a period of time that you applied your brakes?
Yes.
When did you apply your brakes?
Right before Tally and Rogers, there's a descent before you're coming down, as you're about to come down the hill, and then you go up a tiny slope to start to descend again. So it was been periodically throughout the distance between Tally and Rogers and Sunset before the actual accident.
I don't know if I may just have a second to grab him. Okay. As you approach the intersection of Sunset and Tally, is there a hill?
On like the opposite side where I've been going.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 8. If you look up there behind you, you can see what I'm talking about. What does this photograph depict, Mr. Walker?
This is coming down Tally towards Sunset.
Okay.
About to go into Sunset.
Okay. And this is a hill, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you applying your brakes on this hill?
Yes.
I'm going to show you another document that's been previously marked as exhibit number 19. Does this also depict the roadway of Tally Road as you approach Sunset?
Yes.
Okay. As you approach this intersection, what did you see?
The white transit that I've been talking about.
Okay. So explain to me, when you say you saw a white transit, where was the white transit vehicle located?
As I was coming down, it's the left side of Tally towards Sunset. The white transit would have been coming up through Sunset, and I seen it because I'm in a bus, so I'm a little bit higher than everybody else. But upon coming closer to Sunset, would have been an intersection point, like right in the middle, like right where the black, I guess that would be the double line area section.
Let me approach it just I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as exhibit number 59. What do you see in this photograph?
What looks to be transportation bus.
Is this the type of white transit van that you saw?
Yes.
Does this vehicle look similar to the one that you encountered at the intersection of Sunset and Tally?
Yes.
Okay, so explain for the jury what happened as you proceeded down Tally Road towards the intersection with Sunset.
Coming down Tally, you have to watch out for other drivers, including yourself. As a driver, as a bus driver, you're expected to be able to watch your surroundings, your mirrors, and the students. Upon coming down Tally Road, I noticed that the white transit was a little farther from his lane to mine. And as a school bus driver, they train you not to panic, because school buses don't have as much room as regular vehicles. And most of the time that you would normally panic would be like coming next to an 18-wheeler, which is next to one of the training areas. And I was just assuming that the other driver would, gradually get that over in this lane. Upon not doing that, I'm thinking, either there's going to be a collision or I can get out of the way. So I chose to veer out of the way.
Okay. Did you veer? What direction did you veer?
To the right.
Okay. Did you realize that you had gone off the roadway when you veered to the right?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, did you believe there was room in the roadway for bus 366 and the white transit van?
No.
Okay. So, once you veered to the right, what did you plan to do?
I figured I had, gotten out of the way of the other vehicle and my route would continue.
Okay. So, did you steer the bus?
Yes. Once I veered to the right and then veered back to the left, I figured, I'm back on the road at that point and I'm moving on.
Okay. What happened?
That wasn't the case. The bus started to tilt and then it went into, I guess, what would be considered a pivot. And the bus landed on the side, slid, and came to a stop.
What happened after the bus came to a rest?
At the time, I assumed I had blacked out. Never blacked out before. When I was coming to, my arms were locked like this, the steering wheel, and my legs were stiff on the accelerator and the resting pad for the feet. Coming to, my first thought was, movies and TV shows. Fire, so gas. I'm thinking, okay, my foot is on the accelerator, you hit the engine rather than turn the ignition on. Upon doing that, I was strapping my seat up. As we previously seen in the video, I kind of fell to the side. And as I'm thinking, we got to get everybody away from the bus because it's a fire. I don't know that that's really a fire, but that's what I was thinking. When I first went out, I was trying to get Siri to call cops. At the time, I'm not thinking that I don't have a contact under, a police officer or cops. I'm just telling her to call the cops. She's not responding. I tried it twice, and that's when I came back to the bus to see what else that I could do. I suppose the front side. When I went back out, there was a African American gentleman on either a Bluetooth device or his phone. And frantically, I was telling him to call the police, and he just kind of gave a nod. I went back to the front of the bus to see if there was anything I could do there. Based on that, I went back outside the bus, went to the back hatch of the bus, and there were two little girls that needed help getting out of the hatch. I helped them, and then once they were out, I went to the back of the bus. The door was already open, and I tried to assist them in that way. It was, as you seen children panic, and I did what I could as far as the back. Because I'm not able to, in meals and stuff, I had to go back outside. And by the time I come back outside of the bus from the back, there was EMTs and officers started to approach. They made me stop help. they set me down and made me, you know, get away from the situation because I was still trying to help as they approached and was trying to continue doing what I could.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Do you recognize these photographs?
Yes.
Please mark as the next two numbered exhibits, please.
Should be 61, is that correct?
What's been marked as exhibit number 61? Who's that?
That's me.
Watching rescue efforts?
Yes.
Exhibit number 62. Who's that?
That's awesome.
How long were you out at the scene?
I say anywhere from the accident, probably 45 minutes.
And
45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes.
how did you leave the scene?
And then go my car.
I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Can I have 1 moment? Your Honor, may I have 1 moment? Mr. Walker, you've indicated you drove a bus since April of 2016?
Correct.
All right. Do you have a commercial's driver's license?
Yes. Yes, Class B.
Okay. All right. And in April of 2016, which schools did you take kids to and from?
It varied at the time. I was a spare.
Okay. I guess you paid by the hour, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever driven for Brainerd, Woodmore, or Lakeside before the fall of 2016?
I drove for Brainerd. I think it's IT or ICAP or like a special program that they had for, I guess, disciplinary kids. I don't recall driving for Woodmore or Lakeside before, but I know I drove for Brainerd and the class.
And so in the fall of 2016 is when you start driving for Brainerd, Woodmore, and Lakeside? All right. So how many days a week would you drive?
Every day, Monday to Friday.
All right. And it's, I guess, 2 shifts?
Yes.
Okay. So each week you would go to Woodmore and leave Woodmore, I guess, a total of 10 times? Okay. All right. Did you go the same way each time after you left Woodmore?
Yes.
Okay. And so you usually went down Tally Road as you did on this day in November?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But you mentioned earlier, I think, that your route varied from time to time.
Correct.
Did the school system give you a preferred route or a route to travel?
There was a route sheet that you're given from
Okay.
old drivers.
Okay. Did you follow it on this particular day?
No, that my route had already changed by the time.
In what way?
In the morning and the evening, students, like I said, get taken off or added to your stop or your route. And if that student no longer rides your bus, or they going to appear at the bus stop at a different time, your route changes.
Where on Tally Road were you stopping on this day?
I don't know the other 2 streets exactly, but it's like right behind the Sonic and till it maybe intersections. There's a house.
Okay, so it's not really even on Tally Road.
It's on time.
The house?
Yes.
Okay, all right. How many kids were there
On the bus or for the route?
for you to drop off on Tally Road?
3.
3? Okay. Do you remember what time you pulled away from Woodmore?
Not exactly.
Okay. Do you remember what time the crash occurred?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what time you got the phone call?
No.
Okay. Do you remember how fast you were going down Tally Road?
At that intersection. That would have been the second time I checked.
Okay, how fast were you going the first time you checked?
Like 27, 28.
Okay, where on Tally Road? You said you were going 27 or 28. Where on, if you can look behind you?
It's not, yes, sir.
So it'd be above.
It's way before that. It's
Okay, how fast were you going then? 27, 28?
Yes, there's a hill,
Okay, what's the speed limit?
30.
30? Okay. And then coming down this hill, Exhibit 8, how fast were you going?
Somewhere a little after you, I would say between 30 and 35.
And how do you know that?
Because I checked my speedometer before I sent it past Rogers and Tatum, the intersection of Rogers and Tatum.
Okay, well, that's back up the road, is it not?
Yeah, it's not that far up the road.
Okay, right, but how fast were you going as you approached sunset?
At sunset, I don't have the...
You don't know?
No.
Do you remember going into the oncoming traffic, the other lane of traffic?
No.
You don't remember doing that?
No, I never went into there was no oncoming traffic for me to go into.
Okay. No, I meant the lane of travel. Do you remember going into the other lane of travel?
No, sir.
Okay. You don't remember that, okay? And you don't know how fast you were going. But you would agree with me that you were going downhill?
Yes.
Okay. And you talked about earlier a safety inspection. Did you do that this particular day?
Yes.
All right. Any issues with the bus?
Not other than the one that I already reported about getting my brakes changed. No.
Okay. But the brakes work fine?
Fair enough.
The accelerator worked fine?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, you drove the bus, did you not?
Right.
Okay. So did it work or did it not?
It did.
Okay. All right. And so you said there was no oncoming traffic. You said that just a moment ago?
Okay.
All right.
Right there in this image.
There was nobody coming towards you?
No, this image is a little ways up.
A little ways up, okay. And you don't remember being on the opposite side of the road when you were driving a little ways up?
The crash was about to commence.
Say that again?
The crash was about to commence, which is up the street.
Okay, all right. Do you remember going over that elevated driveway?
At the time, no. To me,
Okay.
it was a bump.
A bump, okay. Do you remember striking the mailbox?
No,
What about the utility pole?
not until after.
Okay. When do you say that this blackout occurred?
I would say when the bus was on the side already, coming to a stop.
Okay, all right. You mentioned a moment ago Exhibit 59. Is that the vehicle you saw?
Yes.
That's the exact vehicle you
I
saw?
don't know if that's the exact vehicle, but it's very close to regulation of what I...
Okay, all right. Do you know how fast that vehicle was going?
I'm not.
I mean, you drive.
I can't judge it from somebody else who's... I'm not, I don't have a speedometer, I don't have a little radar guns, the cops use, I don't have that, and I can't judge a vehicle based from just looking at it.
Okay. Well, why is that?
A lot of vehicles look like they're going fast. A lot of vehicles make noise, don't go nowhere. So I'm not one to judge from outside looking at another vehicle to say if they're going fast unless they're actually going fast like a drag race. I would be able to say that they were going fast.
Okay. And you heard the witness, Ms. Brogdon, talk about this white vehicle.
Correct.
All right. And she mentioned it never left its lane of travel. You remember that?
Not really.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't believe that's the testimony that was given on this.
I believe it was. I believe it is the testimony that was given.
I'll sustain as far as you may ask him the questions in there as well.
You said you don't recall?
Not those exact words, no.
Okay. What do you recall her saying?
That it was Mountain Drive, or in the form that she said it's Mountain Drive.
Okay. All right. When you answered phone calls, you said you answered the phone call and didn't know who it was.
Correct.
How did you not know who it was?
Because I didn't look at my phone.
Okay. All right. Okay. And do you usually, when you end phone calls, do you never hang up?
It depends on like what's going on. Like if I'm parked somewhere, or if I'm like had the phone call occurred while I'm still behind the school, it would have been different if I'm not doing anything.
Right. And we saw various images of you on the video with the phone in your hand. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you answered a phone call when you're on your route to stay on Tally Road.
Not on Tally Road, but before, yes.
Okay. And you would agree, though, that your phone records show, Exhibit 11, that your phone conversation lasted for 3 minutes and 50 seconds?
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall getting the text messages afterwards?
I didn't have my phone at the time. I was in custody.
No. I'm sorry. At Exhibit 12, at, let's see, 3:21, you get a text message. Text me if you want to talk whenever you're done. I'm getting back in the bed. You remember getting that text message? You don't?
No.
Okay. Where was your phone at when you're traveling?
There's a tan or teal, whatever color, with box on the engine hood. It's in the cubby, covered box.
All right. So it stays there throughout your route? Okay. You talk about at some point you asked Siri to call the cops. Okay. Where's the phone at when you do this?
I have no idea. That's why I'm pressing the button, asking Siri.
All right. Where are you physically at when you do this?
I'm outside of the bus.
Okay. Because the video will show you later, you get back on the bus first, right? And you go for something at the driver's area.
I didn't see that. It shows me looking around. It doesn't show me picking anything up.
Well, did you pick your phone up?
My phone's outside of the bus.
Where was it outside of the bus?
Somewhere by, like, in the person's yard. If this is the porch, this will be the bus. And this is the stoop that I was on. It's like in the field, a little bit, like next to a tree.
So you're saying your phone was out in the grass?
Yes, somewhere in the yard.
What?
Yes, somewhere in the yard.
All right. Okay. So you didn't get back on the bus to get it?
No.
Okay. How do you find it?
Officer.
Do what?
An officer.
An officer says, here's your phone?
No, when they stopped me and to sit me down, I had a student's book bag in my hand.
Okay.
And that's when I was still trying to do it. When they set me down, they was asking me information like my name, address, who I was. And
Okay.
at the time, I wasn't thinking about that. And I just remember looking around, pointing at my wallet and at my phone.
Okay. But do you know how they found it?
Because I was pointing.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Give me just a second. Exhibit 44? Whose book bag is that?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. And is that your telephone?
That is my telephone.
Okay. And the crash site would be kind of back to the right and behind you?
Yes.
All
Where
right.
you see the fireman's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. And this is more of a number 41 is a larger shot of the yard. Where?
This shot is closer to the street.
Yeah. All right. Where in the yard was your phone?
Back this way.
Okay. All right. So closer to where you're at here.
Yes. So
Okay.
when we get this picture, down here.
It was down the hill. Okay. And so you didn't look for your phone?
I did when I first came out.
Okay. And then someone found it?
Yes.
Okay. How long do you think it was before when the crash occurred and then they gave you your phone back?
Maybe 15, 30 minutes.
Okay. All right. Did you call anybody after the crash?
When I was sitting down, yes.
Okay. I believe number 11, after this call, incoming call.
I can't see that, sir.
All right. All of them.
These are incoming outgoing. I don't know. Is there a question behind this?
Yeah, in just a second.
Oh, okay.
All right. You had enough time? All right. It's hard to tell from here, but there's a series of outgoing phone calls. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. That means what? You dial someone's number?
Yes.
All right. And the first one's at 325? Is that correct?
333.
Let's see here. 325?
Yes, yeah.
All right. And you make and then another series of phone calls all the way up to 333. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you had an incoming call. Do you remember answering that phone?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hang up?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, do you know or you don't know?
Yes.
Okay. You hung up. All right. And then you called 3 more people. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what was the scene like when you got out of the bus?
The scene?
Yeah. What was it like? Was it? Some people have described it as chaotic. I think Miss Pierre described it as horror. How would you describe it?
I would just match what they said.
You would match what they said. Okay. And so people are trying to help the people on the bus, right? Where was the law enforcement or first responders? Where was their focus?
If the back of the bus, the street, law enforcement from line up, remember, is first coming from the right side.
Okay. But what were they doing?
Helping children.
All right. Was that their main focus?
Yes.
All right. And how long did they help children?
I have no idea.
All right. How long were you out there?
Like I said, anywhere from 45 to an hour maybe.
All right. Was there ever any time while you were out there that you didn't see them focusing on the children?
Yes, it's just not. Everybody was doing different things.
Okay. But centered around the bus?
Yes.
Okay. And so, do you remember people entering the bus?
Yes.
Do you remember getting back on the bus?
Not when they set me down, though. Once they set me down, I no longer had any interaction with anyone.
No, but I'm saying you remember getting on the bus yourself?
Yes.
Okay. And so in all of this chaos and horror and giving attention to the children, you want the jury to believe that someone finds your phone and gives it to you?
Yes, because, like, also as the pictures you showed where I'm sitting down, my phone's on the look back, there are officers that are standing around me, like, I think it was Officer Schreider or Warren who stated that everybody has specific tasks when it comes to a scene. And the officers around me, which were like 3 to 4 officers, were specifically tasked to me. The other EMTs and firefighters had nothing to do with it. So
Okay.
it was split. It's not, I'm not saying that, they was like, oh, you need your phone and, we're not going to worry about the children and all that.
How did they know it was your phone?
Because I pointed at it when they asked me for my information. At the time, I couldn't, in conscience, give them the correct information.
So when you got back on the bus the first time, you remember we watched the video yesterday. You recall that? And you went to the driver's area of the bus, driver's side.
Yes, that would have been because the bus was sideways.
You don't remember doing that? You got back on the bus and you went to the driver's seat and you were looking around for something.
Well, the driver's seat would have been above me, and according
Okay.
to the video, I didn't look up in the seat.
Okay. What were you looking for?
Probably the phone.
Probably the phone. Okay. All right. And so, have you ever heard of 911?
Yes.
All right. How long have you known about 911?
That's when I first thought about it as a child.
Okay. And so, you mentioned on direct that you didn't know how to call the police?
What I said was, at the time, I wasn't thinking to tell Siri to dial 911. I was telling her to call the police, call the cops.
Okay. But obviously, within a few minutes of the crash, you have the wherewithal to make several outgoing phone calls,
At
don't
that
you?
time, I'm sitting down. I'm no longer, like, the police officer was already called. I'm no longer, like, active to do anything.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is you have the mental capacity to make outgoing phone calls at this time.
Once I'm no longer in my frantic state, I started to come down a little bit.
But you couldn't, you didn't know, you couldn't dial 911?
Right? And I don't think anybody coming out of the wreck is going to think to be able to have the correct composure to do certain things.
All right.
That's why I was saying to call the police and not dial 911.
But the same person had the composure to make 6 outgoing phone calls right after the crash.
So after Miss Teresa called me and the other ones from the mom and above, I'm no longer at the scene.
Well, the one at the top is at 3:33, and you said you were at the scene for what, almost an
I
hour?
assume 45 to an hour, yes.
Okay, so you were on the scene when you make those calls.
Not above Teresa, no. When Miss Teresa called me, that was the last time, and I was being escorted when I actually met Miss Teresa on the scene, going to
Okay.
the squad car,
So that means you were only on the scene for 12 minutes?
possibly.
Okay. But you said a moment ago to be 45 minutes to an hour.
Right. That was
Okay.
my understanding.
So within 12 minutes of the bus crash, the police find your phone, give it to you, and then essentially escort you to the service center.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, when you were, you mentioned when you came to, your foot was on the accelerator.
Correct.
Both hands on the wheel.
Yes.
Okay. And how what did the odometer say again?
I did what the odometer said at that point.
No, when you looked at it earlier. And the
35.
no, okay, all right. Do you often look at the odometer like that?
Yes.
Okay. How is it you don't know how fast you were going as you approached sunset?
Because it wasn't, I just hadn't looked at it yet. I had already looked at it back when I was passing the speed on.
Right. Do you remember the bus sliding into the other lane?
No.
Never did?
No.
Okay. So you're saying you stayed in your lane of travel the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. And so those, do you remember the marks that Investigator Warren talked about, the yaw marks?
Yes.
All right. One moment, Your Honor. When you talk about certain yaw marks over the yellow lines, you talked about in 21, and you talked about the yaw marks above these people.
Right.
Those weren't made by your bus?
Didn't dispute that were.
No, I'm asking. Were those marks made by you and your bus?
Possibility, yes.
Okay. And you, okay. All right. So you agree that those yaw marks that Joe Warren talked about were made by you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As well as the other ones at the top of the hill before the crash occurred?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Johnthony, redirect me.
Please, Your Honor. Okay. Mr. Walker, I first want to talk about the images from the video that we viewed yesterday with the cellular phone in your hand.
Yes.
Do you recall what was going on at that point in the video?
At that time, the students were loaded on the bus.
Okay. Did you observe that video here in court?
Yes.
Could you see what was on the screen of the phone?
I think the one that the still frames where he stopped, yes.
Okay. What did you see in those still frames that were on your phone?
At one point, it was a black screen. At another point, it was a white screen. And then like 2 times, it was the back of the phone.
Okay. What does it mean when the phone has a black screen?
Most likely it's locked.
Okay, what does that mean?
Like stand on mode when you lock your phone to shut it off. Not use it.
Okay. All right. So in the still photographs that were shown there, you're saying your phone was not being used. Is that fair? Okay. Your Honor. Okay. I want to talk about these phone records here. Okay. And before I do that, let's talk about what type of phone did you have?
iPhone 6S.
Okay. And so you were talking about Siri?
Yes.
What is Siri?
Siri is an automated device, I guess, or like an assistant helper for the iPhones. like telling you the time, whether make phone calls, make text messages, set reminders, she's basically like a offhand system.
A hands-free tool. Okay. So you testified earlier that you were trying to talk to Siri.
Yes.
Where were you when that happened?
Right outside the bus.
Had the bus already come to arrest?
Yes.
All right. So what were you trying to do by talking to Siri?
I was trying to get Siri to call the authorities, call the cops,
What were you saying? What words?
call police.
Okay. Now, did you frequently tell Siri to call someone?
From time to time.
Okay. Does it require there to be a contact in the phone?
Yes.
Okay. So, for instance, if you wanted to call me, what would you say to Siri?
Call them at the time.
Okay. So you were telling Siri, call police.
Yes.
Was it working?
No.
When it didn't work, when you couldn't make Siri call the police, what did you do?
I went back to the bus to assist the children that were still in the front, and I guess maybe according to the video to see if my phone was there.
Okay. When you came out of the front of the bus and went around, did you encounter anyone?
Yes, I encountered the African American male who was either on the Bluetooth for his phone. I just remember his hand being up by his face.
And what did you say to him?
Call the police.
Did you remember to say call 911?
No.
Obviously you wanted authorities to come and help, right? All right, so let's go back to these phone records then. First of all, this phone call down here at the bottom, the one that's claimed to be 3 minutes and 50 seconds long. You see that?
Yes.
You heard the state say earlier in this trial that that would have made that phone call last until 3:21 and 10 seconds. Do you remember that? The bus already collided with the tree at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Were you speaking to anyone on a Bluetooth device when this accident occurred?
No.
Afterwards, you made some phone calls, as the state pointed out.
Yes.
Who were you calling?
I called my mom, called my stepdad, and I called my son's mom.
Why were you doing that?
I had just been in a traumatic situation. I did not know what the outcome would be, and I just wanted to inform them of the situation best I knew.
Were you scared?
Yes.
Were you crying?
Yes.
Are you in the condition that are shown in those pictures?
Yes.
Let's talk about Sunset and Tally again. You see there that this scale diagram says there's a tire mark on the double yellow line. Do you see that? Do you believe as you came down that hill that you were in the opposite lane of travel?
No.
As you came around that turn and entered the intersection of Sunset, were you in the opposite lane of travel?
No.
Where were you? Well, let me back up. Where were you as the white bus, the white transit as you call it, approached the intersection of Sunset and Tally?
I'm about halfway with them in the intersection, so it would have been like a halfway point, either right in the middle of the intersection or a little closer towards this side or something.
I have the handy red pointer here. Can you use that button to show where exactly you were?
So either about halfway here or closer to the section.
Where was the white transit vehicle?
The white transit would have been in this area. About the same as me.
Almost like your noses were
Yeah, but
coming
not
together,
that close, yeah.
but not that close. Was the white transit bus completely in its lane of travel?
No.
When you saw that the white transit bus was not completely in its lane of travel, what did you do?
I veered over to the right.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Recross by state. You may step down, sir. Yes, have other witnesses.
Your Honor, the defense rests.
Defense has rested. Members of the jury, will the state have any additional witnesses? Members of the jury, the state has rested its case. The defendant has rested its case. You've heard all the proof you will hear. There will be some other things left in the trial, the closing summations of the lawyers and the instructions, which I will give you. So I need a little time to put those together. So we'll have you join the officers in the jury assembly.
All right.
Anything from the state or the defense at this time?
Your Honor, I think at this point I need to renew my Rule 29 motion.
And based upon the proof that's been presented in the earlier statements, that's all at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let me ask both sides, the state and the defense, any proposed instructions that you would have from the state?
Not currently, Your
All
Honor.
right, defense?
No, presently, Your
All
Honor.
right, I'm going to put together instructions. It's 11 o'clock, and this may take a while, so 20 to 30 minutes I'll take and put these together, and then I want to give them to you before you have your closing summations. So it'll be 20 to 30 minutes. Let me put together what I have. I'll let you see them, and then we'll hear further as to what we might do with the jury over the break, okay?
Yes, sir.
We'll be in recess.
Court's in recess for 30 minutes.
During that period of time, you all can review the charge and so forth and talk to me about it, okay? So let's have the jury back in. Let the record reflect all 14 jurors. The last two jurors don't have those unusual seats. You don't have to sit down. I'm going to let you go back out again, okay? Let me tell you what I brought you out for. It was a kind of an awkward time when everything closed, but you've now heard all the proof. The only thing left, as indicated, would be the summation of the lawyers and the charge or the instructions given you to by the court. So to make sure that we put that in proper form, it's going to take a little while to do it. So we're going to go ahead and take a lunch break, probably till about 1:15 or 1:30. So I'm going to let you go with the officers for that purpose. When you come back at that time, the case will be concluded by final summations, the charge of the court. We will excuse the four alternates, 4 jurors at that time. 12 jurors will go back. But once again, now at the close, you certainly are going to be with the officers for lunch, but don't talk about the case. Let anybody talk to you about it. Don't visit any place. Don't do any kind of outside investigation on your own. We'll be back between 1:15 and 1:30, and then we'll close the case with the things as I've indicated. You may go with the officers now.
All right.
Maybe has been excused into that lunch break. Mr. Dixon, was there something to talk about? We'll let Mr. carry on, Mr. Dixon. I want to give them copies of what I would propose to give as instructions before we take our lunch break. So that should not take very long. We're putting that together. It'll take about 5 minutes. And what I plan to do, I did not mention it to the lawyers at the bench. The charge is rather lengthy. I'm going to give an original and about 5 copies to the jury when they go back to deliberate. So, and then I'll give you all copies as well. So 5 minutes or so before we take a lunch break, okay?
Court's in recess 5 minutes.
Let's go back in session very briefly.
Let's keep the court's in session.
Proposed, that's fine. Proposed instructions to each of the lawyers, and probably did not need to come in. I've got just 2 for you all, 1 for me. Okay. So you all have there what I propose to give will be the lunch break will go to 1:30 thereabouts. If you all could come back at 1:15, and if you have any corrections, that you can tell me that so we can make those corrections before the jury comes back. So the court will be recessed to 1:15. The court will reconvene the trial at 1:30.
Court's in recess at 1:30.